Hi, and welcome to College Prep English with me, Miss Cahill. Before we review some of the details about the course, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about myself so that you know who's teaching your children. So first, a little bit about me. I have been at Westhill for 6 years. This is the beginning of my 7th year, and I hope to be here for much more. I am a proud graduate of the Stanford Public School System and happy to be working for them now. I am also a College Board certified AP literature teacher, so you can rest assured that your child is getting some scaffolding that'll prepare them for potentially moving up to AP later on. I'm also all about trying to stay as organized as possible, and I'm going to try and encourage your child to do the same. And finally, I'm all about trying to make sure that there's a positive and inclusive environment in my classroom, and I try again to promote the students to do the same thing. So in the background here, you'll see a Bitmoji classroom, which is an interactive classroom space for when your child is working at home from their computer. Your child is always going to have access to this space, this Bitmoji space, even if they have to miss a day of class. So what I'll do is I'll put this on the Promethean board in the classroom, but then I'll post it on Google Classroom as well so that they can review or access the materials from home if they miss a day of school. So tonight we're going to briefly review the class syllabus and discuss the different platforms online that you can use to stay in touch as a parent. There's going to be a lot of information that is on the slides here. We're not going to go over everything because hopefully you've seen some of this already. But if you would like a hard copy of this syllabus in a more printable form, please let me know and I'd be happy to email you a PDF version so you can look at it in more detail. So on this first page here, you'll see some basic information both about the school and the course. It begins with the core values, which are posted everywhere all over the website. So I'm not going to go over those in this presentation. The course description here, you'll notice that this course examines both literature and nonfiction. So the main goal here is that your child will be exposed to both fiction and nonfiction throughout the year, and they'll read and write about what they read in different forms. The materials they're going to need for this class this year are primarily a laptop or a tablet since we're trying to keep everything as paperless as possible, but I would also recommend having pens and pencils with them. And of course, bringing their selected text to class. If they prefer to handwrite their documents and take pictures of things and upload those to the online platform, then I would recommend bringing a notebook and other things as well. The Common Core state standards are national standards for all subject levels, and there are some specific to English that are linked in this slide here, but we're, again, not going to go over that right now. They're very easy to look up or look into a little bit later. As far as the units of study, you'll see the different texts that we might cover this year. The Dew Breaker is in slightly larger text because that is the book that we just started reading as a class right now, and that book is written by Edwidge Danticat. On this slide, you'll see the grading information, which I'm sure is something that all parents are concerned about. How will my child be graded? So you'll see here that it's broken down into 3 major categories. The first is classwork and remote learning assignments, which is the largest weighting. And that's just the day-to-day activities that we do in class and then finish at home. Then assessments and essays and projects make up the other large chunk. And those are the bigger things that come toward the end of a unit or as a check in the middle, like a quiz. And so in order to do well on these bigger things, it's important to keep up with the smaller things in order to make sure we know the material well. As far as work submission, all students obviously are expected to complete all assignments. However, this year in particular, most of the assignments will be submitted online, which is why it's so important to have access to some kind of a device since we're trying to go paperless. This next slide here, you will see different policies both in the school and in my classroom. So the attendance policy is standard for the school. If you are absent, you need to document it and then figure out a way to make up the work in a timely fashion. As far as your cell phones, your student's cell phone or child's cell phone in the classroom, it's important that they silence it and keep it in their bag so that it doesn't become a distraction. And that's just common courtesy. And plagiarism here again is a school policy. Plagiarism is when you claim that someone else's work is yours without giving them credit. And obviously, that constitutes cheating and will result in a 0 on the assignment. If that were to happen in this class, I'll begin by having a conference with your child before taking any final steps. And you will probably be contacted if it becomes a repeated offense. This slide here goes over some of the online resources that are available for your child. So your child will need to use their Google account for most things in the school this year. So that includes Google Classroom, which we'll talk a little bit more about because there's a parent section of that, as well as Google Drive, Google Docs, and their Google email account to stay in touch. They also will need to use turnitin.com, which is a plagiarism detector, and we only really use that for essays and projects. PowerSchool is a great resource for students as well because it allows them to keep track of their grades and figure out if there's something that they need to talk about or clarify. Obviously, you're probably wondering what you have access to as a parent in order to stay in touch and stay on top of your students or your child's learning. So as far as resources for parents go, you can gain access to Google Classroom as a guardian. What that means is that by setting it up with a personal email account that I have to set up through my teacher portal, I can set it to send you weekly updates for what's going on in class. It'll show you what they submitted and what they're missing. And in order to set that up, all you have to do is send me an email with whatever email address you want attached to your child's account. So if you want both you and let's say your husband to be on the account, send me both email addresses so I can add them both. If you sign up for a Guardian account with Google Classroom, you actually gain access to all of their classes, not just with the teacher who signed you up. So it becomes a pretty nifty tool for keeping track of things. You also should really try to get access to PowerSchool if you don't have it already. PowerSchool has a parent portal, which you can access through the Westhill website. And in order to get an access code, if you need to set up an account, you should contact your child's guidance counselor. If you don't know who your child's guidance counselor is, you can always contact me and I can set you up with them through email. The parent portal is going to be super important this year because it is not only how you can keep track of grades, but it's also how you'll receive report cards and access different important paperwork, like the acceptable use policy that allows your child to gain access to technology in the school. Most of this stuff here you can get on a cell phone through an app too, which is pretty cool. And so that pretty much covers the basics of this course and the way things run here. But if you need more information, if you want a copy of the syllabus, if you want to sign up for Google Classroom, or you just want to ask me a question, please feel free to reach out to me via email. My email is listed on this slide here. It's scahill@stanfordct.gov, and Cahill is spelled Cahill. Again, I hope to hear from you soon, and if I don't, I hope you enjoyed this presentation and have a wonderful year.